Happy Saturday night, guys. Jason with End the Simpademic. I wanted to go into detail, long detail. I've kind of hit upon it in little bits and pieces here and there on this channel, in little short snippets in various episodes. But I want to talk tonight on this Saturday night edition of End the Simpademic about why don't men approach women anymore. We've got women loading up the TikToks. They're loading up on YouTube, and the platforms are basically flooded with these women who are just begging and asking, why don't men approach anymore? Well, for those who have not been smart enough to understand why, this is it's got a straightforward explanation, although I might take my time going through this here real quick. It's basically kind of a history lesson at the same time. And so here's what I'm going to do with this. I'm going to go all the way back to the beginning, back to the original feminist movement, back at the turn of the 20th century. And those were days in which women would be walking along with a handkerchief and they would drop it, if they saw a man who they were interested in, they would drop the handkerchief kind of in their path or somewhere where they could grab it. And if they grabbed it and picked up and gave it back to the woman, then a natural conversation would occur and they would introduce themselves to each other, and on it would go from there. Now, we don't have any of that. We don't have that tradition in place anymore, so we don't have any handkerchief dropping going on. But that was the way it worked back then, and I would have to say it worked pretty fine. And so we've gone from that tradition to now to where women are crying that men are not approaching them, and men are like, you know what, I'm good. Because here's what can happen these days, and women are like, you guys are just so scared of rejection. Let's get it straight and out there right now. Rejection is the least of our problems. That's hardly, not even close to the worst thing that can happen. If you are not a 6 foot tall man making $100,000 a year, the worst thing that can happen to you is actually possible incarceration or jail time. This is not a joke. This is not made up. This didn't quite happen to me, but it was still along the same lines. If a woman is not attracted to you, no approach is going to work. Because I know, because I've done it. If she does not find you attractive and you approach them, it's harassment. And women, what's happened in going through history is we went through the Me Too movement about 10 years ago. And the Me Too movement gave exposure and help for a lot of women who needed it. Because there are, as I've said before on this channel, there are creeps out there, legitimate creeps. And it's in those situations that movement was very helpful. And it gave a voice to a lot of women who had suffered in silence for too long. However, on the flip side, unfortunately, it's given a lot of privileged women an excuse upon which to not just reject, but even destroy the life of a man who dares to approach, who does not meet their superficially high requirements. And as I said before, this has happened to me before. Happened in a church. Not my current one, but it happened in a church. And she told me she had a boyfriend, which was fine and all. I just said thank you and walked away. Found out later on, once that church's staff started mounting a harassment campaign of their own against me to try to get me to leave, which did work, by the way, but I don't think they're gonna like they would like the result that happened out of this, because I've taken my volunteer time and my money to a church that where the campus pastor has personally told me that if any of this stuff happens again, he has my back. So I approached and asked to meet for brunch, and that is what happened. I got reported to the pastoral staff, got falsely accused, and that church got kind of put in a squeeze play because she's over here leveling these false harassment accusations. They likely believe that they are false, but they don't do the right thing. The right thing would have been to get my side of the story. As it stood, I sent 5 emails and got no response to any of them. Meanwhile, this harassment over things like what kind of jacket I wore that was a little bit dirty while door greeting for them, or the things that I would say out loud in the middle of a sermon, things that don't affect anybody else or anybody, but they use it as a means to smear me. This is why men don't approach anymore. And as I said, you've got rejection, and then you've got extreme rejection, and then you've got extreme loss of freedom, loss of career situations with false harassment accusations under the cover of Me Too. And modern women have just simply made it so that if they're not attracted to a particular man, any approach is considered harassment or creepy at minimum. And therefore, I don't do it anymore. That's the explanation for why. Because I'm not risking my freedom. I'm not risking my life. I'm not risking my criminal record. I'm not risking my career if it gets back that far over a false accusation. You women have made this game very dangerous for us men. And the risk of these extreme reactions, and again, I'm in the middle. I had an extreme reaction, but it didn't result in any legal action or incarceration, thank God. But because I was in this position, I also became painfully aware along the way that men have paid the ultimate price for simply approaching a woman and wound up getting a police escort and a pair of silver bracelets. This is not made up stuff. These are real consequences that have happened to real men. And so we have stopped approaching because, as the phrase is said, the juice is not worth the squeeze. Now, am I open to the possibility of the right dream woman coming along and entering my life? Sure. I said it last night. I dream about her semi-regularly. But am I going to approach and run that risk again? No. Not just no, hell no. The juice is not worth the squeeze in that regard. So I'm squeezed squarely in the middle on this. I don't approach because the risk is not worth the reward. But yet at the same time, if the right woman were to show up, just, kind of drop in my lap, or as I tend to think will happen, God will drop her in my lap. Am I open to that possibility? I would love it. And if that dream series has told me anything, it's that we will just know. None of these games, none of these harassments, none of these accusations, none of these games. I do believe in a God that is above all of this. But in this particular culture and environment, approaching women is just not worth the risk of these things happening to us. So that is tonight's answer to why men don't approach women anymore. It's long to explain, but at the same time, it's also ludicrously simple. It's just not worth the risk. I have paid for it in false accusations before. And again, luckily for me, they didn't go legal. But for certain men, it has. This is not some black pill extreme. The reason why the black pill channels work the way they do, well, there's two reasons why they do. One, a lot of these situations do happen for real, and it is our reality as men. That's number one. Number two, of course, is that women make it way too easy for them. They've provided so much content on TikTok and on YouTube that they just, as much as these manosphere channels spread these things using faceless channels such as Manhood, Manosphere, The Wall, Cosmic Verse, etc. Channels where men are not held accountable for their content because only YouTube knows who's creating it because of the checks. They have to pay the check to somebody. So that is kind of the extended version of tonight. One, why men don't approach anymore. Two, why do the Manosphere channels work so well? Because they have an embarrassment of riches to choose from as far as content is concerned from women. Women who are posting this content just need to stop. Because you're only hurting yourselves. And if you're doing it for a quick buck, well, congratulations, you're selling out your fellow women for a quick buck. I believe we have a term for that. I'm not going to spell it out here. But yes, there's a term out here for selling things out for money. So anyhow, this is Jason on the Simpademic. Thanks for sticking with me this entire time. I had a lot to get off my chest here. But enjoy your Saturday night, guys. If you're at the bar, make sure you have that cab. Get yourself home safe tonight. We'll see you back here tomorrow for the Sunday edition. Peace out, homies.